Well, how about this, ladies and gentlemen? The Ottawa Senators pick up a win over the Calgary Flames on Monday night. Despite the fact that they lost 5 in a row before that victory. And Brady Tkachuk, hey, they were struggling, but he was still putting up points. In fact, he's recorded at least 1 point in 16 of 21 games so far this season. It's going to lead to the walkover. We're going to walk over to the other side of the expansive Studio 9 and hang out with our friend Frankie Corrado. And we're going to start talking about the Sens. Frankie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Jay?
I'm great, my friend. Great to see you.
Busy night in here.
I'm liking the footwear. You got the guitars.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm running out of socks, I think. busy laundry days, you know?
It's tough to match the socks up sometimes.
Yeah.
So Sens snapped a 5-game losing streak, and I thought it was interesting. You know, Brady Tkachuk's faced a little criticism, not just from the press, but from his own fans, I guess.
But why?
I'm not sure why, actually.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't really get it.
How? Okay, so there's 6 minutes left in that game on Saturday.
Yep.
And he goes, and you're down 4-1. You fight someone. Like I like the message that sends that like this is not acceptable. I'm going to be the one that does something about it. And then that followed through in tonight's game. I thought Brady Tkachuk was really good, and like. Okay, so you don't win last game against Vancouver.
Right.
But you do this. That sends a message to the group that what we're doing isn't good enough. Now you have a blank slate against Calgary, and Brady's the guy. He gets a goal and an assist, and even the assist, he's right in front of the net. I like that. I would rather have the guy that I got to rein in a little bit because he's too fired up than have to always try and extract it, especially with a team like Ottawa where they're always looking for that little bit more.
100%.
Brady's willing to give you that little bit more.
And listening to, like, Travis Green was just exasperated by that question,
couldn't believe it.
Because, as you said, this is what you've been wanting from the Ottawa Senators. We'll see if they can keep it going. Jets get another victory, and that was an important one. Minnesota second in the league, Jets first in the league, divisional opponent. They're 18-4 in the season, Winnipeg is. What makes them so difficult to play against?
They have so many different ways of winning games. I feel like that's a cliche thing that we say now, but with Winnipeg this year, it really is true. We have seen them win games where you have to score a lot. They score way more this year than they did last year. We see them win a lot of games where it's tight. This game against Minnesota stands out for me because they frustrated Minnesota. Minnesota is a frustrating team themselves. They don't give you a lot, they don't generate a ton, but they can bore you to death with the way that they play. You go to the first period, Connor Hellebuck, you mentioned it. He made 21 saves in that first period. Yeah, wow. That was frustrating for Minnesota. And then this Niederreiter goal, there's Alex Iafallo down at the other end getting mauled by Trennan and Eric Sinek. Meanwhile, Niederreiter goes down and scores. Like, that just led to the frustration, I think, for Minnesota. So we've seen Winnipeg do all these great things this year, win all these different ways, but to frustrate a team that is already frustrating to play against, I think that's a pretty cool way to win against Minnesota tonight.
Niederreiter's been such a great fit there, too.
Really good.
I love him in Winnipeg. All right, let's move on to other Canadian NHL teams. We'll start with the Maple Leafs. Mitch Marner, I don't know if you heard it's a contract here. We've been talking about it once or twice. Frankie's got 14 points in the 8 games that Austin Matthews has missed due to injury. He's not carrying the team, but he has absolutely been the driving force to them having this great run without Matthews. Do you feel like, first of all, if you're Mitch Marner's agent, you're thrilled. You're absolutely thrilled. This is like perfect. You're auditioning for this next deal. But does it push the Leafs to try to get a deal done quicker now just because he's playing so well?
I don't think it necessarily pushes them to do it any quicker. I think ultimately, like, we know what this team is after. Like, this team is not after success in November. Every year they have success in November. Right. Every year Mitch Marner rattles off a lot of points. But I will say this about the way Mitch Marner has played without Austin Matthews. It feels like he has taken a lot of responsibility in the fact that he needs to be the guy that drives this team without Matthews. And that's really important because he's been playing with other guys. Like a guy like Bobby McMahon at points has been, out of the lineup this year. John Tavares at the start of the season, it felt like, is that really what John Tavares is going to be like this year? And Mitch Marner has taken those guys and basically said, I'm going to drive you along with me. I think that's really cool. And the other thing that stands out is, if you look at Mitch's reactions after goals, I think, as a hockey player, you grow up learning so much about body language, right? Everyone tells you about body language. I watch him score a goal now, and I see it's almost like more business-like for him. It's not like the dancing kind of like, aloof kid-looking reactions. It's more like, this is business for us. And I like that approach from Mitch Marner.
Meanwhile, the Montreal Canadiens, and this is terrific news to see. Patrik Laine is back on the ice with the Montreal Canadiens, practicing again. You know, we remember the knee-on-knee hit happened at the very beginning of the season, the preseason, actually. Yeah. Just devastating. And now he's back on the ice with the Habs. He's out there skating. Whether he gets back sooner or later, we don't exactly know. But it's positive news. It's been nearly 2 months since he suffered that knee sprain. You've watched so many Habs games. We've talked about the Habs. They're still in the rebuild. In fact, I believe Crave just renewed Rebuild, the Montreal Canadiens.
Well, they can
Rebuild show for a second season. I believe we announced that today, Frankie. So we know the rebuild has to go to next season.
Right. You could even say it's like a little bit of the teardown still.
Right.
Like there still is portions of the teardown that need to happen as it gets rebuilt. But it's great news that Laine is going to be back soon. And I think the big question is, you know, where does he fit in the lineup? Mm-hmm. Like what's the best position for him? Because, you know, coming into the season, that first line of Suzuki, Slavkovsky, and Caulfield, you felt like that was going to be together forever, and Laine would just slide into a second line with Kirby Dach. But Kirby Dach hasn't played particularly well. It feels like that's been like a work in progress. So it doesn't make sense that Dach and Laine would play together, but Suzuki's played much better of late. So you feel like maybe this guy's going to actually play with Nick Suzuki. Well, right. Why not? Just put him up there and see what they can do together. And, like, the lines have been in such flux anyways. Like, Marty's been shifting them around so much to try and find a spark. And it feels like there just hasn't been a lot of continuity there. So if you're putting the guy in the lineup at some point, why not put him with Nick Suzuki? That makes the most sense at this point.
Maybe you pump up Suzuki's numbers even more, give him a little more confidence heading into next season. Why not?
It's nice to play with a guy that's a gifted goal scorer. Not that he doesn't already do that, you know, oftentimes with Cole Caulfield, who's having a great season himself. But it will be interesting to see Laine, you know, what dynamic he brings to the group, because they haven't been a great defensive group. Laine's not a great defensive player, but maybe he can give you a little jump offensively, which also would be welcomed.
I think either way, the post-game scrums are going to be a lot more entertaining.
Yeah. I wonder if he has like any kind of like fancy headgear on, like hats or, you know, loud outfits.
Montreal will embrace that.
Yes.
1,000%. Frankie, thanks for this.
Thanks, buddy.